Good morning, everybody, and thank you once again to come to VOS Season 2 Voices Silence Season 2. We are going to be talking to our speaker number 29, Abhimanyu Yadav. And before I introduce him, may I ask all of us here to just pause for a second and go back to your childhoods and just imagine our parents maybe communicating a little more with us about, or as kids, and I'm talking about the ages from 5 onwards up to teenage maybe. Were there any places where things today as adults would have been different if our parents would have included our opinion in decision making for our lives? Just think, it's not necessary that yes or no, it's just a thought. And I think my conversation with Abhimanyu brought this forth, and also me being a parent myself, it brought this very important point forward that maybe, and this also is from the background of counseling that I come from, that human beings are, children especially, are tiny human beings. They still have the mental capacity to understand what's going on around them. They may not be developed linguistically, bodily, or even mentally, psychologically for that matter, but they do understand language of a parent when he or she communicates for any decision making. So on that note, it's actually that was the basis of the conversation with Abhimanyu, and that's where we will go slowly. We will understand what happened with his life and what all he did in his life. On that note, let's give a round of applause to Abhimanyu Yadav.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So, I'll probably start with because as this whole show is about awareness of yourself, like that is the end result, I would say, like, and it's still not the end. You're still exploring what you are and what you can be. But the journey, of course, could have been easier if a lot of things would have. I know that things don't turn out to be how they are in life, but then, of course, through communication and that gap just builds out. Like it just comes together. So I would probably start with my school.
You can, please start from your childhood and your family from the beginning. Like, give us a little background.
So I was from the very start, I would say. So I was born in a very small place. It's Dhawana is the name of the place. It's a village in Haryana. So I was born there, but my father is of course a bank manager. He was a clerk then. He put me in a school in Shimla, which was a hostel. So in that hostel, because he put in a lot of effort, उस time पे उतना पैसा जोड़ना, because it's one of the top most hostels in India. So I was put there. But then of course there was a lot of difference in financially. It was very different for me as compared to other people. The people who were there were in that school were very financially very sound, I would say, and very well off as compared to me. So I didn't get the difference first hand experience. I didn't get it at that age because when I went to that hostel, I was probably 7 years old. So I was in second. And I was in the same hostel for 11 years till 12. So the only time when I came back to my home was probably in 3 months, which was during my winter vacations, or 6-7 days, which was my summer vacations. Summer vacation के time तो generally मैं नहीं जाता था because Shimla से Lalitpur was a place where I was staying. So I couldn't go because the distance was very far. 2-3 दिन आने में जाने में और फिर जाने में वापस. So 4 days तो ऐसे ही चलेगा. 7 days you can't, like 7 days का छुट्टी होती है. So that is the context which I'll probably talk on.
But before we proceed, आपने अभी कहा that there were other kids that were financially different, maybe more privileged. Did you understand as a 7-year-old? And if you did, तो कैसे पता चलता था कि these are like privileged?
So
would you know the difference in that age?
I didn't actually, but I had hint of it at some point of time. Suppose जैसे when there was a start of a vacation, so everybody used to, like every parent used to come in a flashy fancy car, except mine. So I used to go back in a bus. I used to take a roadways from Shimla to, though it was a very good school, my parents put in a lot of effort and I respect them for it. But I'm just speaking as it is. So like
Yeah, so
how,
that I'll also speak on your behalf for everybody's, to on his behalf. It's important that we remember that here at Voice of Silence, whenever we are addressing, whenever I'm talking to a speaker, we are only and only speaking from his perspective. It is never ever to pinpoint at anybody who may have been part of his or her life. That तुमने ये गलत किया, तुम वो सही थे. No, that's not the point. It is his reality and his perspective. So, like you said, it is what it is. It's nothing about anybody else.
yeah, so I'll continue on that. So hints of when the vacations used to start off, I used to go in a roadways and then come in a roadways, take a train. And I was in 8th when I used to like have a trunk huge filled with clothes and bedding also. जो मैं 8th class से I used to Lalitpur से I used to sit and I used to come to Delhi and then Delhi से I used to change. Fully करता था खुद से ISBT and I was in 8th. And then बस से मैं शिमला पहुंचता था and with that old bedding इतना बड़ा box होता था आर्मी वाला and there was a bedding. So I think जब वो चीजें मैंने at that age I realized it. I thought yeah, there's something different about me, which because nobody else is doing it in my school. I am doing it, so and I have no one to talk to as such because parents think it's normal because parents are from a different background, right? So they have a different perspective. They think everybody is doing it, but I, on the other hand, I didn't have any student as such or my friend to talk to, or even parents. So this was a difference which I saw during vacations or sometimes during 3 months जब छुट्टियां होती थी मैं देखता था कि अच्छा this is where I'm living and वो drastically different होता था. Yeah. So I was at that age we had a joint family, right? So there was a lot of gap. पेरेंट्स ने कभी पूछा नहीं वो काफ़ी चीज़ें like about the financial background they used to I didn't realize it as a problem. If I would have realized it as a problem I would have talked about it, but I thought it's nothing talking.
And how were you feeling at that? Do you remember today as a grown man, उस time पे what were the feeling that you used to get? Would you feel alone? Would you feel helpless? Would you feel anxious?
Yeah.
Would you feel रोने वाला जो मन होता है like want to cry?
So I have this very like prominent feeling which I remembered for a long time even during college, which was of anxiety and palpitations. And the moment I used to board a train from the house or I used to board a bus from the school, I used to have it.
Anxiety.
That anxiety used to start because I don't know why, but it developed over a period of time because of not speaking about it and because of change in places and change in circumstances. With the drastic होता था कि वो बढ़ता गया anxiety. Every time I used to switch places. Suppose after school for 3 months I am going to my home. So वो जब घर जाता था तो वो anxiety उस time पे switch से transition पे बहुत बढ़ जाता था. And the same otherwise also. फिर मैं उधर ठीक हो जाता था घर पे जाके. But जब फिर से आता था school तब फिर वो anxiety start हो जाता था. And it like developed.
And did this then affect your academics, your sports? In school, how were you doing? ये सब लेके?
So I probably till 5th I always used to come last. हमेशा last आया मैं second last आया हूँ. And I never played any sport also. But after 5th I used to cry a lot for like 5 years continuously because आप बच्चे होते हैं you're very young and in that situation आपको समझ नहीं आ रहा होता you're helpless, you can't go back home because everybody wants you to be there and you are not able to take that decision for yourself, which I wouldn't have probably not taken that decision to go back home now also. I think the school has given me a lot to learn. I wouldn't have been here, I wouldn't have been doing well in my life if I wouldn't have been from that school. But then of course those differences will I tackled them through life after college. Probably even 5 years abhi se, I've tackled those things, and I took a break of 2 years.
Yeah.
And after college, I was at home. So
That's-
those 2 years, I thought I will tackle these issues.
But just like we will come to that, that is actually
Yeah,
the main bit. You're saying you weren't doing well in school, you were crying, you had anxiety with every transition from one place to another. Just out of curiosity, were your parents observing all this? That, but forget everything else.
Yeah.
School car performance, because let's face it, we are in India and we have Indian parents who
Yeah.
are always keeping a track of your
Yeah,
performance,
performance.
especially academics. Nobody pointed out or asked you, beta kya chal raha hai, or anything like
So first to fifth, I was from second to fifth. I was probably not doing very well. So my parents thought हम इतना पैसा invest कर रहे हैं, and he's like just not doing well at all in anything. So what happened was there was this incident. My parents had come to the school, and we were on the Mall Road, which is the marketplace of that area, and we were going back to our school, all of us, all three of us, and coincidentally one of the teachers, because we were waiting there for the bus or probably something like that, for a car or anything, the teacher with his car came and he stopped seeing me in that school dress. He gave us a lift, and he told us that second से fifth तक तो हम बच्चे को पालते हैं, and from sixth onwards, if they don't, you will see a huge difference, which they did see, because I eventually realized that nothing will happen if I have to start doing things, and I have to put in efforts in everything, which I did, and I started scoring well, and like I did very well in sports. So
So that, here's a very important question. वो teacher ने बोला, very interesting. So I want to, so even I'll talk about my son and his school here in Gurgaon.
Yeah.
They say the same thing, that up till about 5th, 6th तो कुछ नहीं है, doesn't matter, and but my child's environment and yours, if we compare, very different.
yeah,
But I mean, would you want to attribute the change to the school, or would you want to attribute the change to yourself?
I didn't.
You didn't get it?
Yeah.
Let's take another friend of yours in the same school. Did you see a stark difference after 5th standard in everybody else, or was it you? Mostly.
It was me.
Stark difference.
Stark difference was mostly me, because
तो वो आपकी वजह से
मेरी वजह से
हाँ, that's
था.
what I'm asking.
मेरी वजह से था, because people were actually in the same environment. Their family background and the school were always like in consonance, were complementing each other.
Yeah.
Both environments were complementing
Yeah.
each other. Mine one didn't. So I thought that I have to do well in this environment. Ab I've been put over here. What can I do? Either I can just sit around, and at 5 years I just waited. I thought I'll just get out of this place, because I was a kid. I didn't think कि क्या benefit होएगा, क्या नहीं होएगा. But उस time पे I thought कि I just have to get out of this place, because like it's too far from parents.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and I'm too young, and I don't understand. Though I started making friends, because क्योंकि दोस्त बन जाते हैं 5 years में. आप if you stay there, आपके दोस्त बन जाएंगे. I didn't have difference था आपका, but kids never discriminate, right? So kids.
I was going to ask this question, that did you ever feel any discrimination from any children?
No, I've never felt it till now. So
That's good to know.
Yeah, I've never felt it till now. I have a lot of good friends. They've faded away due to other reasons, I would say.
That happens.
That happens with everyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is okay. But I never felt it from people. It was just, I think it was the journey was my own. It was what was going inside me because of the environment. And it was very drastic, I would say. थोड़ा बहुत drastic चलता है. If I would have stayed in Delhi, a small area, would have worked for me. Even not Delhi, I would say a place like Panchkula, Panipat. Like Lalitpur is like, if you go there, you will not find anyone. मतलब like बहुत ही backward area है, I would say. Nothing to do with that area. But वो जो change होता है वो बहुत drastic होता है. Like people जो वहाँ पे रहते हैं, they have a different language altogether. आपका proper normal हिंदी आ गया है, because it's a small thing. यहाँ पे I'm talking in Hindi. It's a big thing for you. मतलब I have never बचपन से I've never had people who speak normal हिंदी जो हम बात कर रहे हैं जिसमें हम because उनका थोड़ा
डायलेक्ट
डिफरेंस हो जाएगा एंड ऑल्सो बिकॉज वो बुंदेलखंड है वो वाला आ जाएगा मॉम एंड डैड के साथ चलता है वो आपकी यू हैव दैट बट नॉट विद अंडरस्टैंड राइट
I do. Okay, so basically what we have come to till now is a life of contrast in a lot of planes of your life. One, where you're coming from in terms of your family, the location, the place, Lalitpur.
Yeah.
Lalitpur is close to Jhansi. For
Yeah.
anybody. And incidentally, I knew Lalitpur very well because I studied in Jhansi because of being a Fauji kid, we were posted there. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
It is something magically interesting that I already knew where Lalitpur is. But my point is, so Lalitpur, and you say that wo alag jagah thi, then going to Shivla. That's contrast number one. Contrast number two, the financial backgrounds
Yeah.
of where you were and where you were studying.
Yeah.
Contrast number three, from nursery to fifth and then fifth onwards.
Yeah.
So here's a person a child, not a person, a child who's dealing with so many contrasts. आपको I really still want you to answer the question, what in you, मतलब 8th standard में आपको पता, sorry 5th में आपको पता था कि I have to not do something.
No, so I didn't
What
know.
made you think चलो effort मारते हैं?
So I didn't know what not to do. I knew what to do. So I started doing things whatever everybody else was doing. I started studying,
Okay.
which everybody was doing except me, like with my heart in it. So I started doing that, and I also started learning a lot of things. Like by the time I was in 12th, I was a very good sportsman. I was the best sportsman. I represented Himachal Pradesh in boxing.
Wow.
So I done all those things, but it developed from 6 to
From
12.
6th. That must have been. I'm just looking at the child. It must have been slightly tough. थोड़ा सा.
That time,
transition की ये भी मुझे करना है.
I think the first 5 years were very tough, but after that मैंने उस pain को subside करके it was more about you have to do certain things in life. You have to stand up sometimes. A lot of times, in fact, even the work which we do, we have to say, even if you are nervous, we have to do it.
That's
right?
true. That's
So nobody told me to do it. It just came from inside
Right.
that ये बहुत हो गया. I just have to start.
And would you
doing.
still feel the pain once in a while, the anxiety, the pain, कभी while till 12th standard? Yeah, it completely you suppressed it.
I suppressed it because of which it, of course, was developing inside for a long time till 12. And after that, it took me a long time to probably deal with it.
In fact, that's my next question to you. Let's fast forward to 12th standard. You've passed out. Now tell us, बच्चा पास आउट हो गया, आप आ गए दुनिया में, फर्स्ट कदम ऑफ टू दुनिया. उसके बाद तो कॉलेज के बाद एक और फटकी पड़ती है हम सबको, उसके बाद शादी के बाद, उसके बाद बच्चे के बाद. बट लेट्स जस्ट स्टिक टू दिस. You came out of school. Tell us what happened.
So, after probably school, because the school is like a very isolated place where we stayed, right? It is an environment in itself. जो बाहर का social environment है, we didn't have that communication with the outside world.
And it is a boys' school.
It is only boys' school, तो आपको of course awkwardness होता है talking to a girl. अभी it's very normal for me. But उस टाइम पे स्टार्टिंग में वो awkwardness भी था, वो anxiety भी, it shot up because आपने actually देखा, okay, this is not the real world, this is the real world where we are living. So I think that was a drastic change.
Did you have any girlfriends after passing out or during
During college I had.
No, in school?
स्कूल में नहीं possible नहीं था, possible था but नहीं हुआ.
And after school and during college?
Yeah, during college I had, but
When it was you felt like
नहीं, not awkward. It was of course because वो communication इतना solid नहीं होता आपका. So I think it is everybody blames their ex, right? So I won't blame her because I think it was my lack of communication, I would say.
No, that's very big of you to say that. It's very easy to place blame on others.
Yeah,
That's
I know, I
big thing,
realize.
very, very big thing. And I feel whatever we are or wherever we are, it's all on us. It's on nobody else.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that. And then tell us about, you went to DU, right?
Yeah. So
Is there, beach mein kya hua while you went to DU or during DU mentally, mental state?
So I think that when I was in Delhi University, tab aapne actually I saw all the differences come to. I think I really didn't want to see the. I wanted to see things as they were. So that is what was I think was missing my entire life, to see things as they were, because I never saw it like that. So when I went to DU, you see everyone like a person who is from a very poor background, you see them. चाहे आपकी 5,000 फीस होती है फॉर अ ईयर, हमारे लिए तो कुछ भी नहीं है, बट पीपल आर एक्चुअली सीकिंग स्कॉलरशिप्स फॉर दैट. सो तो वो आपको देखने के लिए आपको रियलाइज हो कि ओके दिस इज वेयर आई स्टैंड, दिस इज वेयर आई नीड टू बी, एंड दिस इज वेयर आई नीड टू compete, and this is where I need to succeed in life. That is the time where I got to know the threshold. I got to know things as they were, which I didn't know till 12th. I thought कि because I used to chill with my friends. Everybody is like a big shot. Everybody. And they don't care about money. Many do, many do not. तो आपको क्या होता है, you cannot spend like that. How they are spending after 12th is probably they're just spending everything, and they're like big cars or वो सब कुछ. You try to do that because you're their friend and you stayed there for like 12 years, but I realized my situation after a point in time. Like it took me some time. It took me 1-2 years to realize that bro, this is not your standing. You stand somewhere else. This is not your place. So just recognize the place where you are and then start working on that. So I think DU was only about recognizing my faults. Faults, I won't say like.
हाँ, faults मत बोलो यार. Faults आपकी personality के साथ नहीं जा रहा है. Please, faults नहीं बोलेंगे. Just
the unknown, I would say.
Little nuances which are like you realized. Yeah, faults. So now tell me, there was a certain turning point in your life where you were like, enough. I need to work on myself. I need to realize a few things. I'm going to take a break. That is the most, I think, important part of chapter of your life. Please talk about it.
So after college, I realized that I need to deal with issues which I had, like the anxiety, and I need to. So it's a very small thing. I never used to say it out aloud that I come from this small place, Lalitpur. मैं हमेशा झांसी का रेफरेंस देता. झांसी है, पास में रहता हूँ उसके आसपास. All my friends know that only. I've never said it out loud that I come from this place. So I think that acceptance, I had to accept it, because I realized that if I had to grow in life, I have to accept where I am and I have to grow from there, right? So 1 year I took, 2 years break I took after college to deal with issues like anxiety, which like shot up the roof because I was hiding a lot of things from people and because of my background, and so that acceptance came in those 2 years where I thought I stay at this place which I've never, मैंने कभी इससे अपने आप को अपनाया नहीं है. This place is not, मेरे को नहीं अपनाया इस place ने, मैंने नहीं अपनाया इस place को. So I need to stay here for a while. I need to see what this place is. Then I need to move on in life, because this is like a big hurdle which is everywhere in my career, in my personal life. So I just stay here for a while. I stayed there for 2 years. I did everything. I did yoga, I did music, I did just to वो आपके thoughts ना आए, आप meditation करते हो. And for 2 years I did for 1 year, and I thought it's not enough. I'll take 1 more year. And then I'll find out what do I really need to do in life, and I stick to it for my life. That is what because after 1 year I didn't actually realize what I need to do. So, but at the end of the 2 years I got a hint of it, and I moved towards that path, which is of course law. And I took that leap of faith, and I thought कि ठीक है, मेरे को इसमें कुछ लग रहा है. And when of course I went into that 3 years, I think nothing could have been better. I love this profession to the core, and it's developed over time. It was not like a moment where I thought, okay, this is it. It was not that. But now I can say, okay, this is it and this was it.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
When you took that 2-year gala break, now I'm talking again, I'm addressing the child in you or the young adult in you जो आया था contrasting जगह से, आपने फिर खुद decide किया contrast करने के लिए. Like most people from college will pass out and think of मैं यहाँ job करूँगा, मैं PG करूँगा, करूँगी, whatever. You must have had a group of friends then. Obviously they would have asked you. I'm assuming, please correct me if I'm wrong, that there must have been people who would have said stuff like break कौन लेता है यार, या break क्यों ले रहे हो, मतलब opposition तो आया होगा, parents, family, relatives, friends. What was there in you which was like back off, I need time for myself? That's very important, Abhimanyu, for all of us, because हम लोग ऐसे भाग रहे हैं ना कि समझ नहीं आता कि ठहर जाओ थोड़ा. Please tell us.
So I would just say that ऐसा it's very weird, but ऐसा कोई भी नहीं था.
No,
why?
really?
I would tell you why. Because only the peers which I had in like college के अंदर जो थे दोस्त मेरे, because they were of course from a very different background as compared to school.
Yeah.
So they were like that. But I always used to think, यार, तो I'm not like this. मैं समझ गया था because they were of course racing, exam के लिए race कर रहे हैं, सबके race कर रहे हैं. Because I have not stayed in that environment. मेरे दोस्त होते हैं, they half of them, even a friend who used to top. So one of my college friends, coincidentally, was in my batch sociology, and school में जो था वो same, he was in my department, and I had stayed with him for 11 years. We were friends from like second say. So he was also in the same department. So he used to study only during class time, and वो last के एक दिन में पढ़ता था, and he used to talk. That is what he used to do. So मतलब I didn't have that pressure from anyone. Parents ने कभी pressure नहीं डाला about you have to pursue something. College के friends में मेरे को दिखता था, but I thought कि I didn't relate to it as a thing. कि I have to do this. So I didn't get that opposition from anyone. So I think that made it easy in a way.
Yeah.
I knew that people had. I won't say that's a very good thing. That you should have some urge in college to do something, I would say. Personally, if I would, सब कुछ सही होता, and if I would have worked a little harder, if I would have known some things about myself, अगर मैं वो चीजें पहले deal कर चुका था about myself, right? My anxieties and all those things. If I would have dealt with them, I would have, वहीं से college से I would have started working. ज़्यादा नहीं, but हाँ, मतलब I would have put in some effort, I would say. But I didn't put in any effort, and I just thought I have to take break from all this because I need to actually recognize a lot of things. So
it's amazing. It doesn't matter actually if you look at it. अगर आप hindsight में देखोगे, it won't matter कब लिया, कौन से stage पे लिया, लेना चाहिए था कि नहीं. I'm just amazed at the fact that you must have been 22, 23 at that time, 21.
Yeah, 21, 20.
3 years, 3 years. No?
3 years, yeah.
21, 22.
Yeah.
At that time, I mean, it's hats off, yeah, that you knew that whatever pushed you, like you're saying, there was no pressure. कोई opposition नहीं था, but something within you also said that I need to take a break. I think that is something we can all take away from today. That when not understanding things, अभी तो क्या, we have therapists, we have people we can talk to, but I think आवाज अंदर से ही आती है. Guidance बाहर से मिल सकती है, but I feel the आवाज comes from the voice, comes
the
from
recognition
within.
comes from within.
Yes, and then to follow through. That is what I'm applauding in you. A lot of us will think कि करना चाहिए, but we won't. You did. And now tell us, so you did meditation and you sat down with yourself, you understood you want to do law today, you're happy that you have to. What about the other things? The communication with women. I was going to point to your wife, but I will come to her later. So, communication with women, communication with your parents, communication with yourself. Did that become better?
It did, like after a point of, because I was in a department where sociology is that department where mostly there are girls and there are only 5 guys, so you have no option.
तो issue ही solve हो गया.
तो आप मतलब आपको जंगल में छोड़ दिया है कि भैया आप लड़ो without weapons or anything. It's like that. So
that would have helped though, है ना?
Yeah, it did, of course.
एकदम से.
It's like वो बोलते हैं ना swimming pool में
I was
आपको
going to say, कि swimming pool में डाल दो अभी सीखो.
it's not worked with me, मतलब the same equation.
Chalo, so that got sorted.
Yeah.
So then, how has been your journey after that? Before we come to the final section, actually, now that we are here, ये हमारे उसमें नहीं था, but let's go off. When you met Janvi, who's here, how was it? Did you feel that you would have been a different person if you would have met her 6-7 years ago? And did the 2 years?
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
That's actually very, we have discussed it so much because she was in Bhagat Singh, I was in Hindu. So they used to come, fest and all पे आते थे, and I just realized that I was not this at all. If you meet my college buddies, they wouldn't say that I have like grown, I become humble. I was a person who I was a different person, I would say, and I would have never liked Janvi, I would say, that time. And I realize it.
Is it the other way around also?
Maybe she says that the way I say that this is what I was, she says no, I would have not liked you. But
that's something, by the way, we share with you, my husband and I also. We wouldn't have liked each other fairly. Yeah. So you wouldn't have, and yet you are together. How was we don't need to get into the details, but seems like, and as much as I know Jahanvi who's sitting here, you seem like people who communicate. You do, both of you. Did that help? I know it's been not too long since you've been married, but is that helping? Did it help? Are you getting better as individuals and as a couple?
So communication, I think, is the most important thing, which I realized after getting married. Communication, I started communicating a little bit. थोड़ा बहुत हो, आपका game up हो गया है life में. That was मेरा game up हो गया था थोड़ा सा, because I was like not at all a good communicator. But if I have issues with someone, I just go and I have issues and I not communicate it about that. I not deal with it, or I just ignore those issues. But now, because in that marriage, of course, because she's a very good communicator, I would say. She's a very good communicator, and she forced me to be that. Because she can't just communicate with anyone, right? She's communicating with me, so I have to talk back. So I thought that I have to. So of course, I became a good communicator to that level because of Janvi. So I wouldn't have been able to do this. I think law also helped a bit, because you're so nervous at a point in time when you're in front of a judge that, but you have to stand there and you have to face him, and you don't have to be nervous, and you have to know things. So that pressure, after a point in time, you say that yaar, chhod dete hain, that pressure, just relax and just stay here and just communicate. Let's just do the thing and let's just ignore everything else.
And that helps?
That helps.
No, and what I would like to add and ask, first I would like to add, because this is my 29th episode, I've just had 3 or 4 male members from the society come here and speak. Yeah. We women in general are, I wouldn't say better communicators, but we speak a lot. Women also need to work on our communication. We tend to speak too much also. Like, I know I speak a lot, and I'm also learning to hold back and communicate. There's a difference between talking, speaking, communicating, right? But men in general are thoda chupchap rehne wale. So I, number one, of course, first thank you, Jahanvi, for even suggesting this, and then thank you, Abhimanyu, for coming forward. I'm not discriminating in any way, but like you said at the start, it is what it is. Here I'm not trying to do any gender discrimination, but it's a fact. Men don't come forward and speak. Now what happens is, one half of the gender, I'm just saying it, we all have different gender types, I'm just for the sake of communication saying, let's say men and women, right, who identify as men and women. जब एक पूरा हाफ बात ही नहीं कर रहा है, तो दूसरे हाफ को फिर ब्लेम भी नहीं कर सकते ना, आपको ऐसे की फीलिंग आ रहा है, ऐसे की सोचते हो, you are this and then labeling, and फिर हम ही अपने आप को ठीक भी करते रहे. And then you get into all the feminist talks and all. I personally feel ये one-sided नहीं चल रहा है थोड़ा. Men just need to थोड़ा सा talk. I mean, the first time a man is talking about anxiety. Thank you so much, yeah. Can we Please give a round of applause for. आज नहीं बात है. You were saying I used to cry. मेरे को समझ कम्युनिकेट नहीं करना आता था. Anxiety. Do you? आपको नहीं लग रहा होगा. I'm telling you.
मेरे को पता है. I know this
It's
for
a
a
big
fact.
thing. Yes.
So I think I cannot speak for all men because I can speak for myself how I have been able to do it because I think that learning you have to learn certain things from the other gender.
Yes.
They can learn from us.
Yes.
We can learn from them.
Absolutely.
So I have always realized that in order to grow, maybe it's just being selfish. Maybe I don't know if it's the right word, but in order to, I really give a lot of importance to growing in any which ways, personally, financially, career-wise.
Yeah.
So this is how you grow personally. So if this is how you grow personally, if you're not doing it, then you have to do it to grow. Right? So that is my only logic. That is what I learned during those 2 years also. That if you don't accept how things are, what you are, then how will you exceed? Like how will you become something else if you don't know what you are? Right? To become something else, that if you have a goal in life, okay, this is what you want to do. You have to start from somewhere and you have to recognize where you are. So that recognition is very important. So even if you are a person who is not so good communicator, I would say that who is very rude. Also, so you have to recognize that you're rude. Then only you can improve, right? अगर आप उस लेवल पे हो क्या आपको लगता है आप रूड ही नहीं हो, then you're आप नीचे हो थोड़ा. If you are rude, आप नीचे हो, then you have to recognize it first, and then you have to deal with it, and then improve.
Yes.
So I think with her, I just saw her as a person who would improve me, as a person, because I knew I have a lot of things which are lacking in me, and she already, like when we were dating, I knew that if I'm with her, things are improving in me. So if things are improving in me, I'm sure she will also. We don't know actually what will improve. I know for myself, she knows for herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
it's
if
a very personal journey also.
Yeah.
With somebody.
Yeah, with somebody, and then if we both are growing, the relationship also grows.
Yeah, it does.
So I think if you are not recognizing that particular issue, then you are not doing justice to yourself. Right? So I won't say men or female, but both genders for themselves, they have to recognize certain things.
Sure.
This gender has to see इनमें देखना है इनको, इनमें इनको देखना है, and I get it for a fact that I would say that females are better communicators. You have to recognize it as a fact first, and then you have to learn from it, and then you have to try to.
That's amazing that is even acknowledging this about women, yeah. I think women also, we all seek so much acknowledgement from everybody, but I think mostly our partners. So for you to say something like this, that yes, you are better communicators, yes, we need to learn from you. It's not a blanket statement.
Yeah, it's not a blanket.
It can be very ulta also, but majority of the cases, maybe that's biological also how we are. We need to speak to our children, nurture them. Lamba discussion hai. But quickly, one thing I need to say, when I was talking to him, I told him, thank you so much for your honesty. When we were done talking, I said, thank you so much, Abhimanyu, for your honesty. And to that he said, quote unquote, Kanika, I've been so dishonest with myself for the large part of my life that I don't have any option but to be honest. I thought that was kick ass, that thing that said. It's just like, wow. And on that note, we are going to wrap up with your voice of silence and voice of Abhimanyu, who said, I want to accept yourself. What can we all take away from this discussion? And what can you tell the world in general? Thoda sa ye badal lo yaar. Thoda is a badlav now.
I think what the motive of this talk is acceptance of yourself. So I think that if we recognize of what we are, whatever, be it good or be it bad, if we recognize it first and then we start improving it. So I think that is a huge step towards self-awareness and towards growth in any which ways. If everybody starts doing it, then there's nothing better than that, right? Accepting yourself, because people may not accept you. People who are, if you're from a financially weak background, or you're from a rich background, I'm speaking for both, उनके भी बहुत issues हैं, ऐसा नहीं है उनके issues नहीं है, but they also have to recognize what are the issues, and they also have to recognize what are the issues. Everybody has to recognize themselves first, and then build on that. And सबसे गलतियाँ होती हैं, so I think it's just
that is like I would say the spiritual or the philosophical takeaway from our talk.
Yeah.
I remember you also mentioning two worldly wala things, thoda worldly, about schools and co-education.
Yeah. So I would say, so schools, I would say that you really have to. I loved my school first. I'll give a disclaimer first. I loved my school. So, but I would say that, but there are certain things which need to be improved. It's like it cannot be like it has to be a co-education. Right? There has to be girls and there has to be boys. So that जब आप world में बाहर आते हो, then because that is what the world is. अगर आप किसी 10 साल तक किसी बंदे को अलग किसी एक क्लास में only boys का रख दो, so it actually आपको बहुत you will come out of it eventually. Everybody is dealing with struggles. Everybody has issues in life. Everybody will improve on that. But the problem is कि how do you make it easier for children, right? So they have to have co-education. So that co-education is very important, I would say, more than anything. And also for hostels like ours, I won't say it's very common. Schools के अंदर, day boarding school के अंदर, people won't recognize it also as a thing. I know that people, when I was in college, my classmates didn't recognize it as a thing because they didn't have that exposure. But in our school where हमारा 4 boundaries है, and उससे बाहर आपका कोई communication नहीं है with the outside world, it actually hampers. Either some sort of कुछ होना चाहिए जिसके अंदर आप outside setup, which is the world, आप उनसे communicate, because day boarders, if you see, उनका to and fro होता है, स्कूल के अंदर होते हैं, they come to their house, they have their friends, phone है, सब है, सबसे chit chat कर रहे हैं, बाहर खेलने जा रहे हैं. It's a world like this. Ours is a world like this. And sometimes when there is a break, वो कभी-कभी होता है, 3 months के लिए. So I think that hampers. Which
I feel I'm in agreement with you because I've had friends and myself, Jhansi, by the way, I was in a girls' school. Very interesting, St. Francis convent. There were 2 years I was in a girls' school, that was fun. 2 साल में इतना कुछ नहीं होता. But I have friends who are from boys' schools and girls' schools. They pretty much talk about the same. They look very differently to the other gender. Very different. I'm not saying good, bad, ugly. Very different. So thank you for that input, and I think I'm in agreement with you. जब दुनिया में एक साथ रहना है तो schools में भी तो एक साथ ही रहना चाहिए. And last, I think you had also spoken about the parents' communication with children. Is there something you would like to talk about?
Yeah, for parents, I don't know if those parents would be listening because I don't know if they'll be using YouTube, but I would still say that it's of course their background where they come from. They've never communicated. उनका था, what I now get it, that my parents' goal was that I have to protect my son from. They never told me anything in अच्छा हमारे financially हमारे पास दिक्कत है, because they wanted to protect me, right? That is what their perspective was, and my perspective is कि I at least need to know that what are the problems, so that I also want to contribute. I also want to be part of the problems, and I just don't want to be, मतलब उसमें नहीं रहना चाहता ना, डिनायल में, या पता ही नहीं है कुछ, इग्नोरेंस में. एक्चुअली दैट इज द राइट
और फिर सडनली पता चलेगा.
सडनली पता चलेगा, फिर पता तो लगना ही है ना. आज नहीं, 2 years नहीं, 3 years नहीं, 12 years के बाद पता चलेगा तो और झटका लगेगा.
शायद गिल्ट भी आएगा, शायद थोड़ा सा.
We are not, guilt आएगा, we are not prepared for it at all. If I would have known, I would have mentally been prepared. वैसे तो पैसे आप कैसे कमाओगे स्कूल में, कमाते हैं लोग, but during that time,
just the knowledge would have probably.
The knowledge would have helped. So I think that communication of how things are in the family. I know a lot of parents who communicate. A lot of बच्चों को पता भी चल जाता है because they are staying in the house, right? But because I was staying separately, I couldn't actually realize what the problem was. So I don't know if I should say this, but I would still say it. I remember when I was in college and I had to go to a college which was expensive. I was actually trying to do design for a short span of time. So I asked my sister, because it was design schools and design colleges are very expensive. So I was asking my sister that यार कि क्या हम मतलब गरीब हैं? That is what I asked her. So मतलब कि because I didn't realize it is a very naive thing.
Yeah.
But I said it to her, and in fact I remembered it when she told me recently about this. Do you remember you told me this? And I was laughing about it because she of course knows everything. She was in a boarding. She was in a day boarding. So she knows everything, and she just smiled and she said, "नहीं ऐसा नहीं है." But हाँ, financially है issues. She told me that. So it was a very normal thing for her to tell me, but she was just surprised by, okay, where is this coming from? So,
Awesome. Any last words before we wrap up?
So I think I've said everything. So I just my only endeavor is that just be as you are and just accept what you are to grow. That is all.
Thank you so much. Thanks, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.